Hello, my name's Jim Shaw. I'm Project Manager for Interserve. We're at the Richmond Hill Primary School, which is one of 6 primary schools that Interserve are constructing for Leeds City Council. Richmond Hill Primary School has been constructed to achieve PassivHaus accreditation. The construction of the new building is going to take just over a year, after which we'll demolish the old building over there and create a new Rugby Football League standard pitch, which will have community use facilities as well. Early in the design stage, we looked at three routes to achieving carbon reduction. One was using a conventional building with biomass. The other end of the scale was the PassivHaus accreditation, and then a halfway house in the middle. And our recommendation was to go for the full PassivHaus accreditation, and we made that recommendation to Leeds City Council, and they accepted that. The school is trebling in size, and the building will also incorporate an autistic spectrum condition facility. We're about halfway through the construction process, just over, and we hand the building over in September this year. We've obviously got the constraints of working in a residential area next to the existing school. We've got to consider carefully our deliveries and how we manage the site in general. From the onset, there was a key performance indicator set to encourage the use of local contractors and local labour. We've got the potential for shared community use of parts of the building. One of the real benefits of a PassivHaus building is the constant environment. It's a very pleasant, moderated internal environment with good daylighting and good levels of ventilation. We're now in the Key Stage 1 teaching area. We've got the external building envelope, so we're now starting the fit out. This part of the building has classrooms either side, and then down the centre is what's being termed the learning street. So it's an oversized corridor that will allow teaching activities to be carried out away from the conventional classroom environment. We're using SIPs for the thermal envelope of the building. That's a structural insulated panel system, so that's a facing of OSB with a core of polyurethane insulation, and then OSB on the other side as a sandwich. And that SIP panel itself is airtight. Between each of the joints, we use these specialist tapes to get the airtight seal between each panel, and at the ground, similarly, we've got tapes and we've got other sealing methods to get that joint between the SIP and the floor sealed. Every time we put a hole through the building, we've got to seal that, and we're keeping a record of every point where we've got a hole through, and ensuring that seal has been made correctly, and that we've got a record to demonstrate that. The SIP itself is manufactured at its maximum size at 255mm thick, which isn't quite enough insulation, so we've got this other layer on the inside which is held in place. We're battening through that, fixing through that, so that we have continuity of the insulation, and at each joint the gap can be no more than 3mm, which is an important part of our quality control. The other important part of the airtightness is dealing with the awkward parts. These are easy to get at. Up above, we've got a joint between the wall panel and the roof panel, and that's obscured by the steelwork. We've used an EPDM rubber membrane that's been wrapped around the steel, so that we can get a seal either side of the steel, and we're absolutely certain that we've got our air tightness there. And a lot of thought's gone into how we can do that, because air tightness from the construction point of view is probably the biggest challenge of a PassivHaus building. The new building will have 2 halls. We're stood in what is going to be the small hall. There's an IT suite next door to that, and looking out over here, we've got what's going to be the Key Stage 2 classrooms. All of these facilities will be available for community use. Behind me is the Key Stage 1 play area, and we're stood in what will become the autistic resource for the school, which is part of the greater building. I'm stood at the back of the Key Stage 2 classroom block, and which is nearing completion with the brickwork skin being formed. It's really encouraging to be working on this project. It's going to be a fantastic facility for a school that really does deserve it. And they've been great people to work with, and it's going to be a pleasure to hand over such a building like this.